This is the story of a poor woman named Sarah and a billionaire named Ethan. One was hungry and cold, the other had everything money could buy. But one rainy morning in New York, their lives crossed in a way no one expected, and what happened next will make you cry. It was a cold, rainy morning in New York City. The rain fell steadily, and cars rushed past on the busy Manhattan streets. Sarah stood at a street corner, holding her baby Emma close to her chest. Emma was wrapped in a thin blanket, crying softly, her tiny body cold and her face wet. Sarah had no umbrella, no coat, no food, no home. Her sneakers were worn out, her clothes soaked, but she stood still. She couldn't move. The night before, Sarah and Emma had nothing to eat, not a single bite. So, this morning, despite the rain, Sarah was determined to stand by the roadside until someone helped. It wasn't for herself. It was for Emma, her baby, who was hungry. Sarah couldn't bear to watch her child suffer again. People hurried past. Some glanced at her with pity, others looked away. Two men nearby whispered, "Why is she standing there in the rain?" "Maybe it's her job," the other said. "Some people pretend just to get handouts. I've heard they even borrow babies to tug at heartstrings." Sarah overheard but said nothing. She wiped Emma's face and rocked her gently. Her voice soft and tired, she stretched out her hand, pleading, "Please, help me. Just a little food for my baby. She hasn't eaten." She looked at Emma's dry lips and weak cries, holding her tighter. "Don't worry, my baby," she whispered. "Mommy will find food today, even if I have to stand here all day. Help will come." But Sarah didn't know that help was closer than she thought. Inside a sleek black SUV, a man sat in the back seat. His name was Ethan, a billionaire whose wealth turned heads. He was heading to his office in Midtown for a critical meeting with international investors, a deal that could expand his company across the globe. The traffic was heavy, typical for New York. Ethan leaned back, gazing out the tinted window, when something caught his eye. He sat up. A young woman stood by the roadside, holding a baby in the rain. She looked exhausted, her strength nearly gone. Ethan's eyes lingered on her, noticing how tightly she held the child, as if it was all she had left. She wasn't shouting or moving, she just stood there, quietly asking for help. Something stirred in Ethan's heart. This wasn't just another person begging. This was real pain. "Stop the car," Ethan said. The driver glanced back. "Sir?" "Just stop." The SUV pulled over. Ethan stepped out, his polished shoes hitting the wet pavement, his suit getting damp. He didn't care. He walked toward Sarah. She didn't notice him at first, focused on rocking Emma, who was still crying softly. Ethan stood before her. Sarah looked up, startled to see a tall man in a suit so close. His face was serious but kind. "Good morning," Ethan said gently. Sarah nodded, unsure. He looked at the baby. "What's her name?" "Emma," Sarah replied softly. Ethan stepped closer, seeing Emma's trembling lips. "Has she eaten?" Sarah shook her head. "No, sir, not since yesterday." "And you? Have you eaten?" Sarah looked down. "No, sir, but it's okay. I just want food for my baby." Ethan paused, taking in her soaked clothes and freezing hands. "Come with me," he said. Sarah froze, confused. "Sir?" "Let me help you." Sarah hesitated, fear flickering in her eyes. She'd never spoken to someone like him before, but his calm, kind gaze reassured her. She looked at Emma, still shivering, and took a deep breath. She nodded and followed Ethan to the SUV. The driver opened the door, and Sarah sat carefully, clutching Emma, afraid to touch anything. The driver glanced at her through the rearview mirror, his eyes full of questions. Sarah avoided his gaze, focusing on rocking Emma. Ethan handed her a small towel. "Use this to dry the baby." "Thank you, sir," Sarah said, her hands trembling as she wrapped it around Emma. "What's your name?" Ethan asked. "Sarah," she replied softly. "Where's your home?" Sarah looked down. "We sleep on the street, sir." Ethan nodded, showing no shock. All right, I'll take you somewhere safe. Sarah's eyes widened. Really, sir? Yes. Somewhere dry and warm. You and Emma need rest and food. Tears welled in Sarah's eyes, but she wiped them away. Thank you, sir. God bless you. Ethan said nothing more, lost in thought. Sarah didn't know this was just the beginning. Ethan glanced at his watch. His meeting was approaching, and the investors were likely waiting. It was a pivotal moment for his company. But looking at Sarah and Emma, cold, tired, hungry, he shook his head. They need food first, he told himself. He directed the driver to a nearby diner. Inside, Ethan ordered hot pancakes, eggs, bacon, and warm milk for Emma, along with water. Sarah sat at the edge of a booth, still cradling Emma, her stomach growling after 2 days without food. When the food arrived, Sarah looked at Ethan. Can I eat here, sir? Yes, eat. Ethan nodded. Sarah bowed her head, fed Emma the warm milk, then ate slowly, as if afraid the food would vanish. Tears fell as she chewed. Ethan watched silently, letting her eat. When she finished, she wiped her mouth and whispered, Thank you, sir. God bless you. Ethan leaned forward. Tell me, what happened to you? How did you end up like this? Sarah looked at Emma, then spoke. Sir, I have no one. My parents died when I was young. I grew up in a Brooklyn orphanage. Life was tough. I worked as a cleaner, a cook, anything to survive. She kissed Emma's forehead. Then I met Daniel, a cab driver from a neighboring state. He was kind. We fell in love. After a year, he promised to marry me. She paused, her voice breaking. Ethan listened intently. The diner was quiet. I got pregnant, Sarah continued. I was scared, but Daniel was happy. He said he needed to visit his family to tell them, a tradition. He promised to return in a week. Her voice cracked. That was the last time I saw him. Ethan sat up. What do you mean? He never came back. His phone stopped working. I waited, cried, asked his friends, but no one knew anything. I had no money, lost my apartment, and no job would take me pregnant. So I ended up on the streets, begging for food. She wiped her eyes. Emma is all I have now. Ethan's heart grew heavy. He looked at Emma, sleeping peacefully, then at Sarah, still young but worn by life. He made a silent promise. This is not where her story ends. He pulled out some cash and placed it on the table. Take this. It'll help you and Emma for now. Sarah's hands shook. Sir, this is too much. Take it, Ethan said gently. You need it. Sarah clutched the money, bowing her head. Thank you, sir. God bless you. Ethan nodded, glancing at his watch. The meeting time had passed. He stood, handing her his business card with his name and number. Call me in 3 hours. I'll come to wherever you are and take you and Emma to a safe place. Sarah held the card like treasure, nodding. Thank you, sir. She didn't mention she had no phone, thinking she could pay someone to make the call later. Ethan gave her one last look. I'll be waiting for your call. He left the diner. Sarah sat for a while, tucking the card into a small pocket in Emma's blanket. She stepped outside as the rain stopped, the sun peeking through. She took a bus back to the same corner where Ethan found her, sitting under a store's awning, unaware the card had slipped out near the diner's entrance. She thought, I'll wait here until it's time to call. But the card was gone. At noon, Ethan stood in his office. The meeting with the investors concluded successfully. But his mind was elsewhere. He checked his phone. No missed calls. 5 hours had passed. Why hasn't she called? He wondered. Did she forget? Doubts crept in. Maybe she's one of those who beg for a living. But he recalled her tears, the way she held Emma. He sighed, unsettled, and returned to work. But his heart wasn't at peace. Sarah sat under the awning, still waiting, unaware the card was gone. At lunchtime, Ethan got into his SUV, lost in thought. Take me back to that diner. he told his driver. He hoped Sarah might be nearby. At the diner, he found no sign of her or Emma. As he reached the entrance, he spotted his business card on the wet ground, the edges soft, but the text clear. He picked it up, heart sinking. Did she throw it away? Or did it fall? He sat at their table, ordered food, and stared at the card, torn between doubt and hope. Meanwhile, Sarah realized the card was missing. She searched Emma's blanket, her own clothes. Nothing. Tears fell. No, 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 she whispered. God sent someone to help, and I lost his card. A thought struck her. Maybe it fell in the bus or at the diner. The bus was gone, but she remembered the diner's street. With renewed hope, she took a bus back, praying the card was there. As Ethan's SUV pulled away, Sarah arrived at the diner, just missing him. She searched the table, the floor. Nothing. She asked a waitress, "Did anyone find a small card here?" The waitress shook her head. Tears streaming, Sarah stepped outside, holding Emma, who was crying. Her only chance seemed gone. That night, Sarah sat in an abandoned building, laying Emma on old clothes. She whispered, "God, I don't want my child to grow up like this. Please help us." She thought of Ethan's kindness, then the lost card. But she made a decision. "I'll go back to that spot. Maybe he'll pass by again." She barely slept, the cold and mosquitoes keeping her awake. By morning, Sarah cleaned Emma, dressed her, and returned to the corner, not begging, but waiting, hoping. Ethan, meanwhile, was at home, preparing for his brother Lucas's return from London after 17 years. The house was filled with laughter, music, and friends. Ethan had sent his driver to the airport in his new red SUV. At the airport, Lucas emerged, smiling, with a trolley of suitcases. As they drove through Manhattan's traffic, the driver spotted Sarah at the same corner, Emma on her back. His smile faded. Lucas noticed. "Something wrong?" "Just traffic," the driver said, unsure whether to stop. He kept driving but glanced at Sarah in the mirror, knowing she was important. At Ethan's mansion, Lucas and Ethan reunited with hugs and laughter. The driver, however, was uneasy. As Ethan checked on the food, the driver approached. "Sir, I saw her, the woman with the baby, at the same spot." Ethan's face changed. "The woman who threw away my card? Does she really want help?" He remembered her in the rain, her words about Emma. Maybe she was scared. Maybe she didn't lose it on purpose. He looked at the driver. "Go back. If she's there, ask why she didn't call. If her reason makes sense, bring her to me." The driver nodded and left. Sarah was still at the corner, tired but hopeful. The red SUV pulled up. The driver stepped out. "Madam!" Sarah turned, recognizing him. Tears filled her eyes. "I'm sorry," she said. "I lost the card. I looked everywhere, went back to the diner. It wasn't there." The driver saw her exhaustion, the way she held Emma. He didn't need more proof. "Please follow me." Sarah climbed into the SUV, clutching Emma. As they drove to Ethan's mansion, she whispered, "Thank you, God." The SUV stopped at Ethan's carport. Sarah stepped out, heart racing. Inside, laughter filled the air. Ethan saw her and stood, his smile fading. Sarah moved to kneel, but Ethan stopped her. "No, please don't do that." The room went quiet, guests staring. Ethan led her to a guest room. "Take a proper bath, you and Emma. Rest here." He instructed the chef to prepare food for her. That evening, after the guests left, Ethan sat with Lucas and Sarah, who looked cleaner, wearing fresh clothes. Emma slept in her arms. Ethan asked, "You said you lost the card?" "Yes, sir," Sarah nodded. "I looked everywhere. My phone broke before I gave birth. I haven't had one since." Lucas listened, moved. Ethan had shared Sarah's story earlier. Ethan leaned forward. I can't change your past, but I can help your future. Is there a business you're good at or want to learn? Tell me, and I'll set it up. You'll stay here until we find you a place of your own." Tears fell from Sarah's eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. Lucas smiled, and Ethan nodded, knowing he'd changed her life. Days later, Ethan took Sarah and Emma to a clothing store. "Pick anything you like," he said. Sarah, shy at first, chose dresses for herself and clothes for Emma. Ethan paid for everything. Next, he bought her a new phone and restored her old number. Sarah held it like treasure. "God bless you, sir," she said. Later, Lucas invited Ethan and Sarah to an apartment building. He turned to Sarah. "Your story reminded me of our mother, a single mom who raised us alone. I saw her cry at night, helpless. She passed before we could give her the life she deserved." He handed Sarah a key. "This apartment is for you." Sarah collapsed, sobbing. "Oh God, what did I do to deserve this?" Ethan, shocked, hugged Lucas. "I'm proud of you." Lucas added, "I've arranged a small boutique for you. We'll hire a manager, but you'll supervise and learn to run it." Sarah cried harder, overwhelmed. Weeks later, she managed her boutique, Emma in a crib nearby. Her life had transformed. No more begging, a home, and hope. One afternoon, her new phone rang. A woman's voice said, "Is this Sarah?" "I'm Evelyn, Daniel's cousin." Sarah froze at Daniel's name. "I've tried this number for over a year," Evelyn said. "Daniel had an accident the day he left you. He was in a coma for 4 months and passed away." Sarah clutched her chest, tears falling. "I saw your messages," Evelyn continued. "He loved you. Is there a child?" "Yes," Sarah whispered. "Emma, his daughter." "Daniel's mother is alive," Evelyn said. "She cries daily, thinking he left nothing behind. But now there's hope." Sarah took a deep breath. "I'll bring Emma to meet her. I'll make it happen." After the call, Sarah sat in her boutique's office, tears of peace falling. She had closure. Daniel hadn't abandoned her. Emma would know her roots. Days later, Ethan and Lucas visited the boutique. Ethan placed a hand on Sarah's shoulder. "You're strong." And she was. Life had tried to break her, but she rose with hope. Real wealth isn't money. It's how we treat those who can't repay us. We rise by lifting others. Even when life feels unfair, don't give up. Help might be closer than you think. Never judge someone's struggle. Every story has depth, and one act of kindness can change a life. What did you learn from Sarah's story? Did a moment make you cry or smile? Share in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. A new story is coming soon, full of emotion and twists. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, and don't miss it. Like and share this video if it touched you. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.